The current slammed into the wagon like a fist. 60 degrees, water pouring over the side. "Jump!" Wyatt shouted. Lily jumped into the freezing torrent, her broken arm useless. 20 feet downstream she was sinking. Wyatt dove after her, his hand grasped desperately through the brown chaos, touched fabric, grabbed, held. He had her. But Jacob McCall and his killers were 2 minutes behind them. And the only way to freedom was through a canyon called Smuggler's Pass, where half the people who entered never came out alive. This is the story of how a deserter with a death warrant and a girl with empty eyes saved each other. The gunshot woke Wyatt Cole from a sleep that was never restful. 3 years since he'd last killed a man. 3 years since he'd sworn never to draw his weapon again. 3 years running from a past that wore the uniform of the United States Army and carried a deserter's warrant with his real name on it. But this gunshot was different. Not the crack of a hunting rifle bringing down an elk, not the celebratory pop of a drunk cowhand firing at stars. This was the sound of anger, of violence, of pain finding its mark. Wyatt stood from his bedroll beside a creek in the Montana Territory, his body moving with the careful economy of a man who'd learned to trust his instincts before his thoughts. He was 31 years old, but looked older. The sun and wind had carved lines into his face that spoke of 2 decades working under open sky. He stood 6'2" shoulders broad from years of ranch work, hands scarred and calloused from rope and leather. His dark hair was shot through with premature gray at the temples. A scar cut through his left eyebrow, a gift from the Battle of Antietam, where he'd pulled 3 men from a burning building while Confederate artillery screamed overhead. His right hand moved without conscious thought to the Colt .45 Peacemaker holstered at his hip. The weight of it was familiar as breathing, comforting as a lie. Another gunshot, closer this time. Then a man's voice thick with whiskey and rage, and beneath it quieter, a sound Wyatt had heard too many times before. The soft gasp of someone learning to hurt in silence because crying only makes it worse. "Not your business," he muttered to himself. The voice in his head sounded like Sergeant Macklin from the 43rd Infantry. Practical, cold, survivalist. "You gave up saving people. Remember, saving people gets you hunted." But his hand was already checking the cylinder of his revolver. 6 rounds. His fingers moved to his belt, confirming the spare ammunition in the leather loops. 24 bullets total. More than enough for whatever waited ahead. Because Wyatt Cole, born Alistair Thorne before the Army put a price on his head, could run from many things. He'd been running for 11 years. But he couldn't run from what he was. And what he was, God help him, was a man who couldn't walk away from the sound of someone being hurt. The morning air was cold enough to see his breath. July in Montana Territory, 1876. Summer elsewhere, but the mountains held on to winter like a grudge. Wyatt moved through the pine forest with the silence of a man who'd learned tracking from an Apache scout named Running Water during his years driving cattle from Texas to Kansas. Each step placed carefully, no branches snapping, no rocks shifting, a ghost passing through the pre-dawn darkness. The shots had come from the east, maybe half a mile, close enough to hear, far enough that whoever was doing the shooting felt safe from witnesses. Wyatt's mind cataloged information automatically. Time 20 minutes before sunrise. Visibility poor. Escape routes the forest to his back open grassland ahead near the ranch buildings he could see in the distance. Tactical advantage. Whoever was shooting wouldn't expect company. Tactical disadvantage. Wyatt didn't know the terrain. Didn't know how many men he might face. Didn't know if intervening would blow his cover and put a noose around his neck. He kept walking anyway. The memories came unbidden. They always did when violence called. Caroline's face, his little sister, 23 years old when she died. Married to a man named Joshua Hartwell, who everyone in Missouri called a respectable businessman. Joshua, who broke Caroline's ribs, who blackened her eyes, who finally strangled her and burned their house to cover the evidence. Caroline, who'd written Wyatt a letter begging for help. A letter that took 3 weeks to reach him in California, where he was chasing a horse thief for a $50 bounty. By the time Wyatt rode back to Missouri, Caroline was 3 days in the ground. That was 1871, 5 years ago. Wyatt had killed Joshua in 1873 in what the law called self-defense and what Wyatt called justice 2 years after her death. But killing Joshua hadn't brought Caroline back, hadn't erased the guilt, hadn't answered the question that woke Wyatt every morning. Why wasn't I there when she needed me? The ranch house materialized through the trees. 2-story, well-maintained, barn to the left, chicken coop to the right corral with 6 horses standing hip-shot in the early morning chill. A wealthy spread by Montana standards. Whoever owned this had money. The barn door was open. Light spilled out. Wyatt could hear a man's voice now, clearer, angrier. "You just broke something that didn't belong to you, girl." The voice was gravelly, used to being obeyed. Wyatt placed the accent as local, 3rd or 4th generation American, probably English or Scots-Irish ancestry based on the vowel sounds. He moved closer. 30 feet from the barn, 20, 10. Stopped at the edge of the doorframe. Inside, a man stood with his back to Wyatt, big, maybe 6 feet tall, 200 pounds, broad through the shoulders but soft in the middle. The build of someone who'd been strong once but let whiskey and comfort erode the muscle. He wore work clothes, suspenders, boots caked with mud. His hair was dark but thinning. Wyatt guessed late 30s. The man held a leather belt in his right hand. The buckle caught the lamplight. Brass, heavy enough to break skin. On the ground in front of him, a girl. Wyatt's breath stopped. She was young, 18, maybe 19, impossibly thin, the kind of thin that spoke of missed meals and old hunger. Her dress, faded blue calico that might have been pretty years ago, hung on her frame like a shroud. Dark hair fell across her face. Her left arm was cradled against her body at an unnatural angle. Broken. Recently. Wyatt could see the swelling even from the doorway. Her lip was split. Fresh blood on her chin. She'd bitten through it, probably trying not to scream. But what stopped Wyatt's breath wasn't the injuries. It was her eyes. Brown eyes that should have held fire at 19. Eyes that should have flashed with anger or fear or something alive. These eyes were empty, resigned, already dead inside. Caroline's eyes had looked like that in the last photograph Wyatt had of her, taken 2 months before Joshua killed her. The man raised the belt again. Wyatt stepped into the barn. "Jacob McCall." His voice came out level, calm, the tone he'd learned in the cavalry when talking down spooked horses or drunken soldiers, low and steady, no threat, no weakness. Jacob spun. The belt lowered slightly. His face went from rage red to calculation pale in the space of a heartbeat. He was looking at a stranger, a tall stranger, a stranger with a gun on his hip and the kind of stillness that marked men who knew how to use it. "Who's asking?" Jacob's voice tried for friendly and landed somewhere near suspicious. "Name's Wyatt Cole. Sheriff Briggs sent me out this way, said you might be hiring hands for a cattle drive over the pass." The lie came smooth. Wyatt had been lying about who he was for 11 years. Practice made perfect. Jacob's eyes narrowed. "Sheriff didn't mention anything to me about sending riders." Wyatt shrugged, one shoulder, easy. "Told me to ask direct. Said you're the kind of man makes his own decisions." Flattery. Useful with men like Jacob. Men who needed to feel important. Jacob's posture relaxed slightly. The belt lowered another inch. Wyatt let his gaze drift to the girl. Made it casual. Curious, but not challenging. "Got some trouble here." "Family matter." Jacob's voice hardened. "Stepdaughter. Clumsy. Broke my wife's china. The good set from Philadelphia." Wyatt looked around the barn. Saw no broken dishes. Just straw, horse manure, feed buckets. The kind of place you brought someone when you wanted privacy for violence. "Expensive china," Wyatt said neutrally. "Damn right. 20 years old. Came west in a trunk. Survived earthquakes and every damn thing. Then this girl." Jacob gestured at her with disgust. The girl hadn't moved, hadn't looked up. She knelt in the straw with her broken arm cradled and her split lip bleeding and waited for whatever came next with the patience of someone who'd learned that fighting back only made it worse. Wyatt's hand didn't move toward his gun. Not yet. But he felt the weight of it, felt the familiar calculation running through his mind. Distance 12 feet. Jacob was unarmed except for the belt. If Wyatt drew, he could put a bullet in Jacob before the man took 2 steps. But then what? A dead man. A witness. Questions. A sheriff who Jacob apparently had in his pocket. And sooner or later someone checking Wyatt's background. Finding the wanted poster. Captain Alistair Thorne. Deserter. Mutiny. $500 reward. The gallows. Well, Wyatt said carefully, I should check the barn for my horse. Got a lame mare needs rest. What do you charge for overnight stable? Jacob blinked at the subject change. $5. Highway robbery. Wyatt pulled out a worn leather wallet, counted out $5 silver. But I'll pay it. He stepped forward, handed Jacob the money, used the movement to position himself between Jacob and the girl. Not obvious. Just there. Jacob took the money, still watching Wyatt, trying to figure him out. Wyatt turned as if to leave, paused at the door, looked back like an afterthought. Your stepdaughter. What's her name? The girl's head came up slightly, just enough that Wyatt could see surprise flicker across her face, as if no one had asked her name in a very long time. Emma, Jacob said quickly. Too quickly. Wyatt filed that away. A lie. But why lie about a name, Miss Emma? Wyatt touched the brim of his black Stetson, a gesture of respect. The girl's eyes widened, then Wyatt looked back at Jacob. Let his voice drop. Not threatening, just factual. Heard tell that breaking a dead woman's dishes brings bad luck to a house. Apache scout I worked with in Colorado believed it. Said it invites the spirits in. Jacob's face darkened. You calling me superstitious? No, sir, just passing along what I heard. Figured a man of your standing would want to know. Wyatt smiled, friendly, empty. Also heard that shaking hands tend to drop things more than steady ones. Might want to keep your good china locked up, safer that way. The words hung in the air, innocent on the surface, barbed underneath. Jacob took a step forward. You got something to say to me, stranger? Wyatt met his eyes, held them. This was the moment, the choice point. Back down or stand ground, run or fight. Just that I've seen 1,000 men like you in 1,000 towns. Real loud when the opponent's half your size, real quiet when it's a fair fight. Wyatt's voice stayed level, conversational, but the steel underneath was unmistakable. Get off my property. Be happy to. Soon as morning comes. You already got my $5 for the night. Wyatt tipped his hat again, this time to Jacob, mocking in its politeness. Sleep well, Mr. McCall. He walked out. Didn't hurry, didn't look back. But he heard it. The sharp intake of breath from the girl. The frustrated growl from Jacob. And he felt it. The weight of what he'd just done. Marked himself. Made himself memorable. Painted a target on his back in a town where he'd planned to pass through invisible. For a girl whose name probably wasn't Emma. For eyes that looked like Caroline's. Worth it, Wyatt thought. Even if it gets me hanged. Worth it. The beating came anyway. Wyatt knew it would. He'd bought the girl maybe an hour of safety. No more. Men like Jacob didn't respond well to challenges. They needed to reassert dominance. Prove they were still in control. Wyatt sat in the barn with his horse Liberty, a gray mare he'd bought 6 years ago in Wyoming. He'd named her Liberty as a joke that stopped being funny. She was the only free thing in his life, the only companion that didn't ask questions about his past. He listened to the sounds from the house, raised voices, a door slamming, then silence, the kind of silence that meant someone was hurting too much to make noise. Wyatt forced himself to sit still. Wait. He couldn't help her yet. Not directly. Bursting into the house would get him killed or arrested, probably both. But there was another way. He waited until full sunrise. Then he saddled Liberty and rode into town. Redemption Creek, Montana territory. Population maybe 300. One main street. General store, saloon, church, doctor's office, sheriff's office. The usual bones of a frontier settlement trying to convince itself it was civilization. Wyatt tied Liberty outside the building with the faded sign. Dr. Elijah Abbott, physician and surgeon. The doctor was old, 60 at least, thin as a fence post with gray hair and intelligent eyes behind wire-rimmed spectacles. His right arm was in a splint, fresh, maybe 2 months old. He looked up as Wyatt entered. Recognition flickered, not of Wyatt personally, but of type. The doctor had seen enough drifters and cowboys and dangerous men to categorize them on sight. "Help you." Abbott's voice was careful, professional. "Maybe I can help you. Heard you had some trouble out at the McCall ranch." Abbott's face went carefully blank. "Don't know what you're talking about." "Girl named Emma, except that's not her real name, is it?" The doctor's hand tightened on his pencil. "Who are you?" "Someone who saw her this morning. Broken arm, split lip, bruises. I'm guessing go back years." Wyatt paused. "And I saw your arm in that splint. Bet you tried to help her once. Bet Jacob McCall didn't appreciate the interference." Abbott set down his pencil, studied Wyatt with new intensity. "You know McCall. Met him this morning. Didn't care for him much. That makes you smart. What's your interest in this?" Wyatt could have lied, should have lied, but something about the old doctor's eyes, the resigned sadness there, pulled the truth out. "I had a sister, Caroline. Her husband beat her for 3 years. She wrote me for help. I was too far away. Got there 3 days after he killed her." Wyatt's voice stayed level, factual, but his hands clenched on his knees. "Sheriff didn't do anything. Husband was too important, too connected. Caroline died alone and scared, and I wasn't there." Abbott's expression shifted. Understanding, shared pain. "I'm sorry for your loss." "Don't be sorry. Just tell me about the girl." The doctor sighed, looked at his broken arm, made a decision. "Her name is Lily Winters, not Emma. Lily. She's 19 years old. Daughter of Thomas Winters, who owned that ranch before he died in a mining accident 7 years ago. Accident, so they claimed. But Thomas was fixing to change his will, leave his second wife, Ruth. Week later, convenient accident at the mine." Abbott's voice dripped bitterness. "Ruth married Jacob McCall 6 months after that. Been using Lily as unpaid labor ever since, beating her, starving her. I've watched that girl waste away for 7 years. Wyatt felt the familiar cold fury building in his chest, the same fury he'd felt learning about Caroline, about Joshua, about all the men who hurt women and got away with it because the law valued property and reputation over justice. "You tried to stop it." Abbott gestured at his arm. 2 months back. Told Jacob I'd report him if he didn't let me treat Lily's injuries proper. He broke my arm in 3 places. Sheriff Briggs did nothing. Briggs is on McCall's payroll. Half the town is. What does Jacob want with her? The ranch. Thomas's will leaves everything to Lily when she turns 21. That's 2 years from now. But if Lily dies before then or disappears, the property goes to Ruth as Thomas's widow, and Ruth's married to Jacob. The picture crystallized. Cold, calculating, monstrous. He's waiting for her to die, or planning to kill her and make it look like an accident. That's my belief. Can't prove it, but yes. Abbott leaned forward. "Why do you care, Mr. Cole? Wyatt Cole." Another lie, but a useful one. "I care because I can do something about it this time. Something I couldn't do for Caroline." Wyatt reached into his coat, pulled out a folded document, placed it on Abbott's desk. The doctor unfolded it, read. His eyebrows climbed toward his hairline. Employment contract. Lily Winters hired as housekeeper for Morrison Ranch in Wyoming Territory. Room board and $15 a month. Abbott looked up. Morrison Ranch. Mine. Small spread. 50 acres. Needs work. But it's in Wyoming. Different jurisdiction. McCall has no authority there. This is legal. Had a lawyer in the next county draw it up yesterday. Cost me $10, but it's binding. Lily's over 18. She can accept employment anywhere she wants. McCall can't legally stop her. Abbott stared at Wyatt. You're offering to take her to Wyoming. A girl you don't know. Risk your life running from a man like McCall who'll sure as hell come after you." "Yes." "Why?" Wyatt stood, walked to the window, looked out at the dusty street, spoke without turning around. "Because someone should have done it for Caroline, and nobody did. Nobody even tried." He turned back. "I'm trying." Abbott was quiet for a long moment. Then he said softly, "You're a good man, Mr. Cole." "No, Doc. I'm just a man who failed once. Don't aim to fail twice. What do you need from me?" "Give this to her." Wyatt handed over the contract. "Tell her I'll have a wagon behind your office at 1 in the morning. If she wants out, she meets me there. If she doesn't show, I ride on alone. Her choice. Always her choice. And if McCall stops her," Wyatt's hand dropped to his gun, "then Mr. McCall will learn what happens when you corner something that's got nothing left to lose." He left before Abbott could respond. Rode back through town, bought supplies, ammunition, medical kit, food that would travel, salt pork and hardtack and coffee. Not much. He didn't have much money, but enough to get them to Wyoming if they moved fast, if they survived. Wyatt spent the afternoon in the forest near McCall's ranch, watching, learning the layout, counting the hands. Jacob employed 5 men, cowboys, drifters, the kind who asked few questions if the pay was steady. Wyatt noted the guard rotation, the dogs, the sight lines, the escape routes, planning for war, hoping for peace, preparing for the most likely outcome, which was violence and blood and another notch on his conscience that he'd carry until death. As the sun set, Wyatt made camp a mile from town, built a small fire, brewed coffee, sat with Liberty, and watched the stars emerge. He thought about Caroline, always Caroline, her laugh, the way she used to braid wildflowers into her hair when she was young, the last letter she'd sent him, the one that arrived 3 weeks too late. "Please come home. I need you. I'm scared." 5 words that haunted 11 years. Wyatt pulled the leather cord from around his neck, a simple thing, rawhide with the letter C carved into a small wooden bead. He'd made it after Caroline's funeral, wore it every day since. A reminder, a penance, a promise, I will not fail again. He didn't know if Lily would come. 19 years old, 7 years of abuse. That kind of trauma made trust impossible. She had every reason to think this was a trap, another way to hurt her. But Wyatt would be there, at 1 in the morning, with a wagon and a contract and a loaded gun. He'd be there. And if she came, he'd get her to Wyoming or die trying. The night was cold. Wyatt didn't sleep. He broke camp at midnight, rode Liberty into town quiet as smoke. The streets were empty. A dog barked somewhere. A drunk stumbled out of the saloon singing off-key. Wyatt tied Liberty behind Dr. Abbott's office, checked the wagon he'd purchased that afternoon. A sturdy farm wagon, nothing fancy, but the wheels were solid and the bench seat had space for 2. He waited. 1 o'clock came and went. 1:15, 1:30. Wyatt began checking the harness, preparing to leave. She wasn't coming. He'd been a fool to think she would. 7 years of hell didn't end because a stranger offered kindness. It ended when you died or when you stopped feeling anything at all. 1:45. Footsteps. Wyatt turned. She came out of the shadows like a ghost. The girl from the barn, Lily. She wore the same faded calico dress, a shawl around her shoulders, old but well made. Her left arm still cradled wrong. In her right hand a small cloth bundle. Everything she owned in the world, probably. She stopped 10 feet away, watching him, wary as a kicked dog. Wyatt didn't move toward her. Let her make the choice. Let her control the distance. "Thought you weren't coming," he said quietly. "Thought you wouldn't be here." Her voice was hoarse, raspy, like she didn't use it much, like screaming had damaged something permanent. "I said I would. People say lots of things." She shifted the bundle. "Is the ranch real Morrison Ranch?" This was the moment. Wyatt could lie, keep the story simple, safe. He chose truth instead. "No." Lily's eyes widened. Morrison's a name I made up. The ranch is real. 50 acres in Wyoming. Got a house that needs fixing and a barn with a leaking roof. It's not much. Not what you'd call a proper ranch. Not yet. Wyatt met her eyes. But it's mine, and the contract is legal. You'd be safe there. Why tell me the truth? You could have lied. You've been lied to enough. Figured you deserved honesty. Lily studied him, reading his face the way animals read threats, looking for the catch, the trap, the angle. Why are you really doing this? Wyatt pulled the leather cord from under his shirt, showed her the carved C. 11 years ago, my sister Caroline married a man who beat her. She wrote asking for help. I was in California. Letter took 3 weeks to reach me. By the time I got home, she'd been dead for 3 days. Husband killed her. Burned their house to hide it. Law didn't care. He was important. Connected. Wyatt's voice stayed level, but his hand shook slightly on the cord. I couldn't save her, but I can save you, if you'll let me. Lily's eyes filled with tears. She blinked them back hard. Jacob will come after us. I know. He'll bring men, the sheriff, maybe federal law if he lies right. I know that too. You could die. Probably. Then why? Wyatt looked at this broken girl with empty eyes and a spine that somehow still held her upright after 7 years. Looked at Caroline's ghost wearing Lily's face. Because some things matter more than staying safe, and saving you matters more than my life. The words hung in the cold night air. Lily took a step forward, then another, until she stood beside the wagon. Wyoming, how far? 3 days hard riding, 4 if we need to rest. And if I slow you down, if my arm gets worse, then we go slower. I'm not leaving you behind, Lily. Not for anything. She looked at him, really looked, searching for the lie, the crack, the moment he'd reveal himself as just another Jacob, another man who wanted to use her. But Wyatt stood there, patient, open, offering nothing but a chance, a choice, the thing she'd been denied for 7 years. Agency. Okay, Lily whispered. Okay, let's go. Wyatt helped her into the wagon, careful of her broken arm. She weighed almost nothing, all bone and gristle and stubborn will. He climbed up beside her, took the reins. Liberty, tied to the back, snorted softly. You ready? Wyatt asked. Lily looked back toward the ranch, toward 7 years of hell, toward everything she'd known since she was 12 years old. Then she looked forward, toward Wyoming, toward the unknown, toward something that might be freedom or might be a different kind of cage. No, she said honestly. But I'm going anyway. Wyatt smiled. First real smile in months. That's the bravest thing I've heard anyone say. He snapped the reins. The wagon lurched forward. The wheels creaked. The night swallowed them. Behind them, a light flickered on in a window at McCall Ranch. Jacob knew, and the chase was about to begin. They made it 10 miles before the sun rose. Not far enough. Wyatt had hoped for 15, but Lily couldn't sit the wagon's rough movement without gasping in pain. Her arm was worse than he'd thought. The bone had set wrong, probably broken weeks ago, never treated, just wrapped in dirty cloth and left to heal crooked. Infection was setting in. Wyatt could smell it, sweet and rotten. Gangrene maybe, or just the normal rot of untreated injury. She needed a doctor, real medicine, not the crude field surgery Wyatt had learned in the war. But first, they needed distance. The land here was open grassland, rolling hills covered in bunch grass and sage, the kind of country that made good cattle range but bad cover. Anyone chasing them would see the dust from the wagon for miles. Wyatt scanned the horizon. Nothing yet, but it was coming. How many will he bring? Wyatt asked. Lily sat beside him, pale and sweating. 5, maybe 6. Men who owe him money, or fear him, or both. Armed. Jacob has rifles. The hands have pistols. Billy Harmon has a shotgun he's real proud of. Harmon. That the big one looks like a bull that learned to walk upright. Despite her pain, Lily almost smiled. That's Billy. His brother Frank is worse, quieter, meaner. They did time in Yuma for killing a Chinese worker. Jacob hired them anyway. Wyatt filed that away. Killers. Professional or near enough. This wasn't going to be a simple chase. This was going to be war. "Can you ride?" he asked. Lily looked at him. "The horse. If they catch the wagon, we're trapped. But if you can ride, we can abandon it. Move faster on horseback." "I can't even hold reins with this arm." "I'll pony you. Tie a lead rope. Guide your horse while I ride Liberty." Lily was quiet, thinking. Then, "I'll try, if I have to." "Good girl." The sun climbed higher, the morning warmed. Wyatt pushed the wagon harder. The wheels rattled over stones. Lily gripped the bench with her good hand and didn't complain. Around noon, Wyatt saw it. Dust rising behind them, maybe 5 miles back. Moving fast. "Company," he said quietly. Lily looked. Her face went white. "That's them." "How long can you hold on?" "Long as I need to." Wyatt snapped the reins, pushed the horses harder, but a wagon could only go so fast, and the riders behind them were gaining. 3 miles. 2. Wyatt made a decision. There's a shortcut through the forest ahead. Dangerous. Narrow track. Wagon might not make it. And if it doesn't, we're on foot, probably dead. What's the other option? Stay on the main road. Let them catch us in the next hour. Lily looked at the dust cloud, at the men coming to drag her back to hell. Take the shortcut. Wyatt yanked the reins left. The wagon careened off the road onto a barely visible deer trail. Trees closed in on both sides. Branches scraped the wagon. Pine boughs slapped their faces. The path was narrow, too narrow. The wheels caught on roots. The wagon lurched and tilted. Behind them a gunshot cracked. Warning shot, not aimed to kill, not yet. "Emma!" Jacob's voice carried across the grassland. Desperate, enraged. "Get back here, girl." Lily flinched at the name. Another shot. Closer. The wagon hit a deep rut. The left wheel bounced high. For a sickening moment Wyatt thought they'd overturn. Then they were through. Into denser forest. Darker. The trail descended sharply. Ahead, Wyatt heard water. Running fast. The Bitterroot River. Swollen with snowmelt from the mountains. They were going to have to cross. And crossing might kill them faster than Jacob's bullets. The Bitterroot River appeared through the trees like a brown serpent, wide, fast, angry with spring melt from the mountains. The roar of it drowned out everything else, even the sound of Jacob's posse crashing through the forest behind them. Wyatt pulled the wagon to a halt at the riverbank, studied the water with the eye of a man who'd crossed 100 rivers in his years, driving cattle from Texas to Kansas. This one was bad, maybe the worst he'd seen outside of flood season. The ford was marked by 2 standing stones, old markers, probably used by trappers and Indians for generations. But the water level was 3 feet higher than it should be, the current strong enough to tear a full-grown steer off its feet. "Can we make it?" Lily's voice was thin, scared but trying not to show it. Wyatt didn't lie to her. "Maybe. If the wagon holds together, if the current doesn't flip us, if Liberty keeps her footing. And if it doesn't, we drown, or get swept downstream into rocks. Either way, we're dead." Lily looked back. Through the trees, dust rising, voices calling. Jacob and his men were maybe 2 minutes behind. "And if we don't cross?" "Jacob catches us, takes you back, probably kills me for interfering." Wyatt turned to face her. "Your choice, Lily. I won't make it for you." She looked at the river, at certain death by drowning, then back at the forest, at certain death by Jacob's hands. Or worse, not death, just more years of slow torture until he decided she'd outlived her usefulness. "Cross," she said. Wyatt nodded once, respected her for it, respected that even with a broken arm and 7 years of hell behind her, she still chose the risk over the certainty of pain. He untied the leather thong from around his neck, the one with Caroline's initial carved in wood, held it out to Lily. "What is this?" "My sister's. Only thing I got left of her." Wyatt tied it around Lily's wrist, over the swollen flesh of her broken arm. She gasped, but didn't pull away. "When we hit the current, it's going to try to flip this wagon. When it does, you jump clear. Don't try to save anything. Just get to the far bank." "What about you?" "I'll be right behind you, I promise." "That's not an answer." Wyatt almost smiled. Even terrified, even broken, she was sharp. Smart. No wonder Jacob wanted her broken further. Smart women were dangerous to men like him. "If I don't make it," Wyatt said carefully, "you ride Liberty West, find a town called Sweetwater, ask for Marshal James Patterson. Tell him Wyatt Cole sent you. He'll help." "You're talking like you're planning to die." "Planning to survive. But if I don't, you keep going. You don't stop. You don't look back. You get to Wyoming and you live. For both of us." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "I don't even know you." "I know. But sometimes the people who save us are strangers, because the people who know us are the ones who hurt us." Wyatt picked up the reins. "Hold on. And when I say jump, you jump." He urged Liberty forward. The wagon wheels entered the water. Cold spray hit them both. The current grabbed immediately, pulled, insistent as gravity. 10 feet from shore, the water was knee-high on Liberty. The mare snorted, nervous. But she was a good horse, steady. She'd crossed rivers before. 20 feet, water to her chest now. The wagon began to float slightly. Wyatt felt the wheels lose contact with the riverbed. This was the dangerous part. When the wagon stopped being an object on the ground and became a boat with no rudder and no sail and nothing but hope keeping it upright. 30 feet. They hit the deep channel. The current slammed into the wagon's side like a fist. The whole structure tilted, 45 degrees. Lily screamed. Wyatt grabbed her with his left hand while his right fought the reins. Liberty was thrashing now, fighting to keep her head above water, fighting the terrible pull of the current trying to drag them all downstream. The wagon tilted further, 60 degrees, water pouring over the side, supplies washing away everything Wyatt had bought. Salt pork, coffee, ammunition, gone into the brown chaos. "Jump!" Wyatt shouted. Lily jumped. Wyatt jumped a heartbeat later. The cold hit like a club to the chest, knocked the air from his lungs. Wyatt had swum in cold water before. Mountain streams in Colorado, lakes in Wyoming. This was different. This was liquid ice. This was cold that stopped thought. Cold that made muscles seize. He surfaced, gasped, looked for Lily, saw her 20 feet downstream, sinking. Her broken arm useless, her good arm flailing, but not enough, not nearly enough. Number Wyatt dove. The current was stronger underwater, tried to tumble him, roll him like a log toward the rocks he could hear but not see. His hand reached out, grasping, desperate, touched fabric, grabbed, held, Lily's dress. He had her. Wyatt kicked toward the surface, dragging Lily with him. His lungs burned, his legs cramped, but he'd carried wounded men through worse, had dragged 3 soldiers from a burning building at Antietam while cannonballs screamed overhead. He could do this, had to do this. They broke the surface together, Lily coughing, choking, alive. Wyatt got an arm around her waist, began swimming one arm toward the far bank. The current fought him every inch, tried to pull them into deeper water, faster water, death water. His boots touched bottom, shallow, getting shallower. Wyatt stood, stumbled, fell, got up again, dragged Lily through the last 10 feet of current and up onto the gravel bank. They collapsed together. Coughing river water, shaking with cold and exhaustion and the simple animal relief of not being dead. Liberty stood on the bank 20 yards upstream, soaked, wild-eyed, but alive. The wagon was hung up on a boulder in midstream, half submerged, useless. Wyatt rolled onto his back, stared at the sky, brilliant blue, cloudless, beautiful in a way that only mattered because he was alive to see it. You okay?" His voice came out as a rasp. Lily coughed, nodded. "Think so." "Can you walk?" "Have to. Can't stay here." "Smart girl." Wyatt sat up, looked across the river. 5 riders had emerged from the forest on the far bank, Jacob in the lead. Even at this distance Wyatt could see his face, purple with rage, screaming something the river noise drowned out. Jacob raised a rifle, fired. The bullet kicked up gravel 3 feet to Wyatt's left. Another shot. Closer. "Move," Wyatt said. They scrambled up the bank, into the tree line. Wyatt caught Liberty's trailing reins. The mare was trembling, but she followed. Behind them Jacob kept shooting, but the range was too far and the rifle was probably a Henry. Good for 50 yards. They were at 150. Still, Wyatt kept moving, put distance between them and the river, between them and Jacob's impotent fury. After a quarter-mile he stopped, leaned against a tree. His legs were shaking, reaction setting in, the body realizing how close death had been. Lily sat on a fallen log. Her dress was plastered to her skeletal frame. Water dripped from her hair. Her broken arm hung at that terrible angle. "They can't follow," she said. "Not across that river." "No, but they'll ride north to the bridge at Brennan's Crossing. That's 3 hours. Gives us maybe a 4-hour lead." "Is that enough?" Wyatt pulled the map from inside his coat. Oilskin had kept it mostly dry, unfolded it, studied. "There's a line shack 2 miles north, Old Pony Express station. We can dry out, rest, then push through the night if we have to." "I can keep going." "I know you can, but I need to look at that arm. Infection's setting in. I can smell it." Lily looked down at her left arm. The swelling was worse now, red streaks climbing toward her elbow. Blood poisoning. The kind that killed you slow if you were unlucky, fast if you were blessed. "How bad?" "Bad enough you need a doctor. We get to Wyoming, first thing we do is find one." "And if I don't make it to Wyoming—" Wyatt met her eyes. "Then I carry you across the border and find a doctor anyway." "You can't carry me that far. Watch me." They stared at each other, Lily looking for the lie, the moment he'd leave her behind to save himself, Wyatt letting her look, letting her see the truth. He would carry her, would die trying, because that's what you did for people who mattered. And somehow in the space of 1 night and 1 river crossing this broken girl with empty eyes had started to matter. "Why?" Lily asked, not challenging, just genuinely confused. "Why would you do all this for me?" Wyatt thought about Caroline, about the letter, about arriving 3 days too late, about the gravestone he visited once a year no matter how far he had to ride. "Because I can," he said simply. "Because you're here, and I'm here, and Jacob isn't. That makes it my job to keep you alive." "That's not a reason. It's the only reason that matters." They walked, Wyatt leading Liberty with Lily on the mare's back, too weak to walk far, too proud to complain about it. The line shack appeared through the trees like an answered prayer, half collapsed, windows broken, roof sagging, but 4 walls and a door that mostly closed. Luxury. Wyatt checked inside for animals. Bears sometimes denned in abandoned buildings, found nothing but mouse droppings and old straw. Good enough. He got a fire going in the rusted stove. The chimney drew clean. Smoke rose straight up. That was something. Last thing they needed was to smoke themselves out of their only shelter. "You need to get out of that dress," Wyatt said, not looking at Lily, staring at the fire. "Wet clothes will kill you as sure as that infection." Silence. He could feel her fear. 7 years of Jacob had taught her that men wanting you undressed meant pain. "I'm not looking," Wyatt said quietly. "I'll face the wall. There's a blanket in my saddlebag. It's damp, but it's wool. Better than what you got. When you're ready, tell me." He turned his back, heard the rustle of fabric, the small gasp as she moved her broken arm wrong, the sound of someone trying very hard not to cry. "Done," Lily said, voice thick. Wyatt turned. She sat wrapped in the gray wool blanket, looking like a child playing dress-up, looking like every refugee he'd seen in the war, displaced, damaged, trying to survive one moment at a time. "Let me see the arm." She held it out. Wyatt unwrapped the dirty cloth binding. The smell hit him full force. Sweet rot. The bone was displaced, broken at least 2 weeks ago, maybe longer, never set properly, just wrapped and ignored. "This is going to hurt," Wyatt said. "Everything hurts. This will be worse." He pulled a small brown bottle from his kit. Laudanum. Opium dissolved in alcohol. Not much left. Maybe 10 drops. 2 drops. It'll take the edge off. Lily opened her mouth. Wyatt counted carefully. 1, 2. She swallowed, made a face at the bitter taste. "Give it 5 minutes," he said. They waited. Wyatt gathered his supplies. 2 flat pieces of wood from a broken crate, strips of cloth from his spare shirt, everything he'd need to splint the arm after setting it. "Ready?" he asked. Lily nodded. Wyatt knelt in front of her, took her arm gently, felt along the break. Radius fracture, about 2 inches above the wrist. Clean break, which was good, but displaced. The bone ends had slid past each other. He'd have to pull them back into alignment. "On 3, he said. Lily braced herself. 1. Wyatt pulled, hard. The bone ends grated, shifted, popped back into place with a sound like green wood snapping. Lily screamed, a long wailing cry that echoed off the cabin walls and probably carried half a mile. Her good hand grabbed Wyatt's shoulder, nails digging in. He let her. Pain needed somewhere to go. "Done," Wyatt said quickly. "Worst part's over. Worst part's over, Lily." But she was sobbing now, not just from the pain, from everything. 7 years of held-back tears. 7 years of being strong because being weak meant worse punishment. All of it breaking loose at once. Wyatt held her. Awkward, uncomfortable with displays of emotion. But he held her anyway because she needed holding and there was nobody else. When the crying slowed, he bound the splint. Careful, tight enough to immobilize. Not so tight it cut off circulation. "You did good," he said. "Most men I knew in the war couldn't take bone setting without passing out. Didn't have much choice. You always got a choice. You chose to be strong." Lily looked at him, really looked. "Is that what you tell yourself about your sister?" Wyatt's hand stilled on the bandage. "What? That she chose to be strong, that she chose to stay with a man who beat her, that it was her fault for not leaving sooner." The words hit like bullets. Wyatt sat back. "No, that's not what I think." "Then why do you blame yourself for not getting there in time?" "Because I should have been there. Should have come sooner. You were in California. The letter took 3 weeks. You couldn't control that." "Doesn't matter. I should have known. Should have felt it somehow." Lily shook her head. "You're not God. You can't see the future. Can't be everywhere." She paused. "And neither could she. Caroline. She couldn't see that writing you would take too long. Couldn't know her husband would kill her before help arrived. It wasn't her fault. And it wasn't yours." Wyatt stood, walked to the window, stared out at the forest. His reflection in the broken glass looked old, haunted. "How'd you get so smart?" he asked. 7 years watching people, learning what they want to hear, what they'll believe, how to survive by reading faces. Lily pulled the blanket tighter. "You want to know the truth? The real reason you're helping me? I told you the reason. You told me part of it, the part about Caroline, but there's more." Wyatt turned. "What do you think it is? I think you hate yourself for failing her, and saving me is the only way you know to stop hating. You think if you save enough people, eventually it'll erase what happened. Eventually, you'll feel clean." The accuracy of it stole Wyatt's breath. "You're wrong," he said. "Am I? Saving you won't bring Caroline back, won't make me clean. I know that." "Then why?" Wyatt came back to where she sat, crouched down so they were eye level. "Because you matter. Not as a replacement for Caroline. Not as a way for me to feel better about myself. You, Lily Winters. You matter because you're a human being who deserves better than what you got. That's the whole reason. The only reason. And it's enough." Lily's eyes filled with tears again. "Nobody's ever said that before." "Then everybody you knew was a damn fool." She laughed. Wet, painful, but real. First laugh Wyatt had heard from her. A sound outside cut the moment short. Footsteps. Careful. Quiet. Wyatt's gun was in his hand before conscious thought. He moved to the door, pressed his back against the wall beside it. "Who's there?" he called. "Wyatt Cole." A young voice. Nervous. "It's Tommy Briggs. From town. I need to talk." Wyatt remembered the name. Briggs. Same as the sheriff. "You alone?" "Yes, sir. I swear it." "Come out where I can see you. Hands up." A young man stepped into view. Maybe 20 years old, thin, weak-chinned, but his eyes were earnest, scared but determined. Wyatt opened the door slightly, gun still drawn. "Say your piece." Tommy's eyes flicked to the gun, back to Wyatt's face. "Jacob split his men. 3 went north to the stage station at Deer Lodge. Jacob and 2 others, the Harmon brothers, they're tracking you." "I know. But you don't know about the Harmons." Tommy took a breath. "Billy Harmon killed a man in a bar fight in Yuma, served 2 years, got out last month. Frank Harmon burned down a brothel in Virginia City. 3 women died. They're not just ranch hands, Mr. Cole. They're killers." From inside the cabin, Lily's voice, small, afraid. "They'll kill us." Tommy looked past Wyatt, saw Lily wrapped in the blanket. His face softened. "Worse than that, Miss Winters. They'll hurt you first. Make it last. That's what men like them do." Wyatt studied Tommy, read him the way he'd learned to read men in the war, looking for the lie, the setup, found nothing but genuine fear and guilt. "Why are you helping us?" Wyatt asked. Tommy's jaw clenched. 5 years ago my mother tried to leave my father, the sheriff. She was going to take me and my little sister somewhere safe. Jacob McCall found out. He was afraid my father would lose his job, that it would hurt Jacob's position in town. His voice dropped. "They said my mother's horse threw her, broke her neck. But I saw Jacob arguing with her that morning, saw him follow when she went riding. And you said nothing. I was 15 years old, terrified. Who would believe me against Jacob McCall?" Tommy pulled out a map, worn, hand-drawn. "There's a back trail, Smuggler's Canyon, runs along the ridge, comes out 15 miles north, gets you to Wyoming by tomorrow night." "Why's it called Smuggler's Canyon?" "Because it's dangerous, narrow, rock slides, flash floods. One wrong step and you're at the bottom of a gorge." Tommy met Wyatt's eyes. "But it's unguarded. Jacob knows Boulder Pass and Widow's Gap. He's already sent men to watch both. This is your only chance." Wyatt took the map, studied it by firelight. The route was barely marked, a thread through impossible terrain. "Half the people who try this trail die," he said. "Yes, sir. But if you stay here, Jacob finds you by morning, and then you're certain dead." Wyatt looked back at Lily. She was watching, listening, fear in her eyes but also trust. She'd thrown her lot in with him, would follow wherever he led, even if it was to death. "We'll take it," Wyatt decided. Tommy nodded, started to leave, paused. "Mr. Cole, there's something else." "What?" The young man pulled up his pants leg, 2 puncture wounds on his calf, swollen, red-streaked, rattlesnake bite. "When?" Wyatt asked. "Hour ago, when I was tracking you." Tommy's voice was calm, resigned. "I figure I got another hour before the venom stops my heart. Maybe 2 if I'm lucky." Lily gasped. Wyatt's mind raced through options. Tourniquets didn't work on snake venom. You had to cut it out, suck it out. But an hour old the venom was already in his system. Nothing to do but wait for the inevitable. "You came anyway," Wyatt said, "knowing you were dying. Wanted my death to mean something. Wanted to help someone the way nobody helped my mother." Tommy smiled, sad. "This is as good a way as any. Come with us. We'll get you to a doctor. No time. And even if there was, I'd just slow you down. Tommy handed Wyatt the map. I'm going to stay here, hold them off when they come. Canyon's narrow where the trail splits. I can defend it. Buy you maybe an hour. That's suicide. It's redemption. Wyatt understood, saw himself in this young man, both of them trying to make up for failures, both willing to die to balance the scales. Your father, Wyatt said. The sheriff. He know you're here. No, sir, and he can't. He'd arrest me for helping you. What should I tell people after? Tommy thought about that. Tell them Tommy Briggs died doing the right thing, just once. That's all I want. Lily stood, walked over despite her pain, wrapped her good arm around Tommy in a brief, fierce hug. You're a hero, she whispered, a real one. Tommy's eyes glistened. No, ma'am, just tired of being a coward. He looked at Wyatt, held out his hand. Wyatt shook it, man to man, equal to equal. Keep her alive, Tommy said. That's all I ask. I will, I swear it. Tommy nodded, turned, walked back into the forest, toward the canyon entrance, toward the place he'd chosen to make his stand. Wyatt watched him go, added another name to the list of people he couldn't save, Caroline, and now Tommy. But by God, he'd save Lily, or die trying. They left 10 minutes later, moving through darkness, following Tommy's map. The terrain grew rougher, steeper. Wyatt had to lead Liberty, while Lily clung to the saddle with her good hand. Behind them, maybe a mile back, gunfire erupted. Tommy's revolver. Crack, crack, crack. Methodical. Careful. Return fire. Heavier weapons. Rifles. Shotgun blast. More pistol shots. Tommy still fighting. Then a scream. Cut short. Silence. Lily was crying silently. Wyatt kept walking, kept his face forward, didn't let her see that he was crying too. Tommy Briggs, 20 years old, dead in a canyon defending strangers. Hero. The canyon entrance loomed ahead, a black slash in the cliff face, barely wide enough for a horse. Wyatt lit a match, studied the opening. This is it, he said. Once we go in, there's no turning back. Canyon walls are too steep to climb. Only way out is through. Lily looked at the darkness, at the unknown, at potential death. Better than certain death behind us, she said. They entered Smuggler's Canyon together. The walls closed in immediately, 10 feet wide, then 8, then 6. The sky above was a ribbon of stars. The floor was sand and loose rock, treacherous footing even by daylight. By matchlight and starlight it was a nightmare, but they moved forward, because forward was the only direction that mattered. An hour in they heard it, voice echoing off stone. Jacob. Morrison, I know you're in there. Wyatt stopped. The acoustics in the canyon were strange, made it hard to tell where sounds came from. Jacob could be 100 yards back or half a mile. This is your tomb. Jacob's voice bounced off walls. Only one way out and I'm standing in it. Lily's hand found Wyatt's in the dark, cold, trembling. He's lying, Wyatt said. Tommy's map shows an exit on the Wyoming side. And if Tommy was wrong, then we die together instead of you dying alone back at that ranch. Lily squeezed his hand. Not the most comforting thing you've ever said. Wasn't trying to comfort, was trying to be honest. They kept moving. The canyon floor sloped upward. Climbing now, Wyatt's legs burned. Lily was breathing hard, the infection and the exertion combining to drain what little strength she had left. Emma, Jacob's voice again, closer. Baby girl, come back. Your mama's worried sick. The false sweetness in his tone was more terrifying than his rage. Lily stopped, turned back toward the voice. Don't, Wyatt warned. But she shouted anyway, voice echoing, amplified by the stone. I'm not your daughter. I'm Lily Winters, daughter of Thomas Winters, and you killed him. The canyon carried her words back and forth, bouncing, multiplying. Doc Abbott knows the truth. Mrs. Holloway knows. Tommy Briggs knew. And when I get to Wyoming, The whole territory will know. Silence. Then Jacob's rage. Incoherent screaming. A gunshot. The bullet ricocheted off canyon walls, sparks in the darkness. Small rocks began to fall. "Run!" Wyatt grabbed Lily, pulled her forward. Behind them more gunshots. Jacob firing blind, angry. The sound waves bouncing, building, creating resonance, a crack like thunder, then a grinding roar. Rock slide, tons of stones sliding, blocking the canyon behind them. Wyatt looked back, saw dust rising in the starlight, heard rocks still settling. "Did we just trap ourselves?" Lily asked. "No, we trapped Jacob. He's on the other side now, can't follow." Wyatt checked the map. "But we have to keep moving. Dawn's coming. Need to be in Wyoming before he finds another way around." They climbed. The canyon narrowed further. Wyatt had to turn sideways. Lily did the same. Liberty couldn't fit. Wyatt left her ground-tied. Trusted she'd wait. 50 yards of sideways shuffling. Boots slipping on loose scree. Lily gasping. Wyatt's shoulders scraping stone on both sides. Then the canyon opened slightly. A stream ran through. Cold. Clear. They both drank deeply. Wyatt studied the map again. 2 more miles, then we're across. "I don't know if I can make 2 more miles. You've made it this far." That was different. That was running from something. This is just walking toward empty promises. Wyatt cupped her face, made her look at him. "Not empty. Wyoming is real. The land is real. Safety is real. I promise you." "How can you promise something like that?" "Because I've died 1,000 times in my head for the last 11 years. Died every way a man can die. And I'm still here, still breathing, still fighting." He touched the leather cord on her wrist. Caroline's initial. "I couldn't save her. But I will save you. On my life. On my soul. On everything I am or ever was. I will get you to Wyoming." Lily searched his face, looking for doubt, found only absolute certainty. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay, let's go." They walked. 1 step, another, another. Time lost meaning. There was only the next step, the next breath, the slow grinding progress through stone and darkness toward something that might be freedom. The canyon began to lighten. Dawn, coming from ahead, which meant they were facing east, which meant they'd turned around somehow, gone the wrong way. Wyatt's stomach dropped. He checked the map, turned it, tried to make sense of it. "What's wrong?" Lily asked. "Sun's wrong. Should be behind us. We're walking east, back toward Montana." "But the stream flows west. Tommy said follow the water." Wyatt looked at the stream. She was right. Water flowed downhill, west toward Wyoming. "The canyon bends," he said slowly, "curves back on itself. We're going the right way. The sun's just confusing." "You sure?" No, he wasn't sure, but saying that would break her. "I'm sure. Keep walking." Another hour. The canyon opened wider, 12 feet across, then 15. Then suddenly they could see sky overhead, real sky, not just a ribbon. And ahead, a wooden post, weathered, old, with words carved deep. Wyoming territory. They'd made it. Wyatt and Lily stumbled the last 100 yards, crossed the invisible line, collapsed against the marker post, both of them shaking, exhausted, bleeding from a dozen small cuts, but alive and free. Lily started laughing, couldn't stop. Hysteria, maybe, or relief, or just the simple animal joy of surviving against impossible odds. Wyatt found himself laughing too, deep, genuine. First real laugh since Caroline died. They sat with their backs against the marker, watched the sun rise over Wyoming, pink and gold, beautiful, promising. "We did it," Lily whispered. "Yeah, we did. Jacob can't follow us here." "No, different territory, no jurisdiction." "So we're safe." Wyatt wanted to say yes, wanted to believe it, but he'd lived too long, seen too much. For now, he said. "But we need a doctor for that arm. Need food, need rest." He stood, helped Lily up. "Town called Sweetwater is 20 miles north. We can make it by tomorrow if we pace ourselves." They started walking. Liberty caught up to them somehow. Found her way through the narrow passage. Wyatt didn't question it, just accepted the minor miracle. The land here was different from Montana. Drier, more open, sagebrush and scrub pine. The mountains in the distance were sharper, more jagged. It looked like hope might look if hope was a landscape. 2 hours later, Liberty's ears pricked forward. She nickered, nervous, riders ahead. Wyatt's hand went to his gun, but the riders wore badges, 3 of them, led by a man in his mid-40s, stern face, gray beard, marshal's star on his chest. They pulled up 20 yards away. The leader studied Wyatt. Recognition flickered. "Wyatt Cole?" the marshal asked. Wyatt's blood froze. This was it. The moment his past caught up. The bounty hunter, the arrest, the hanging. "Depends who's asking," he said. The marshal smiled, swung down from his horse, walked closer. "James Patterson. You look familiar. Did we serve together?" Wyatt nodded slowly. "Antietam. Pulled some men from a burning building." Patterson's eyes widened. "That was you, Private Patterson. I was one of them." Wyatt's mind raced back. 12 years. A battle. A building engulfed in flames. 3 men trapped inside. Wyatt going in against orders because leaving them wasn't acceptable. One of those men had been a kid, 19, red hair, terrified eyes. This man's eyes. "Private Patterson," Wyatt said slowly. "Marshal now." Patterson held out his hand. Wyatt shook it. "What brings you to Wyoming?" Wyatt gestured to Lily. "Helping a friend." Patterson looked at Lily, took in the broken arm, the bruises, the exhaustion. His face hardened. "Someone hurt her. Hurt. Someone's been hurting her for 7 years. We left Montana this morning. Man named Jacob McCall will probably show up with complaints." "What kind of complaints?" "Kidnapping, theft, whatever he can invent." Wyatt met Patterson's eyes. "Truth is, Miss Lily Winters is 19 years old, legal adult. She accepted employment at my ranch, came of her own free will. McCall is her stepfather, abusive, violent. She has every right to leave." Patterson studied them both. "This is true, Miss Winters." Lily nodded. "Yes, sir. Everything he said." "And you want to stay in Wyoming?" "Yes, sir. More than anything." Patterson nodded slowly. "Then that's how I'll write it in my report. Lily Winters, legal adult employed by Wyatt Cole of Morrison Ranch. No crime, no kidnapping, just a woman exercising her legal right to work where she chooses." Relief flooded through Wyatt so strong it almost buckled his knees. "Thank you, Marshal. Thank you. You saved my life once. Least I can do is return the favor." Patterson remounted. "Town of Sweetwater's 20 miles north. Dr. Stone there can help with that arm. Tell him I sent you." He rode off with his men, leaving Wyatt and Lily standing in the Wyoming dust, free, legal, safe. For the first time in 7 years, Lily smiled, really smiled. It transformed her face, made her look young, hopeful. "We made it," she said again. "We made it," Wyatt agreed. They walked toward Sweetwater, toward healing, toward whatever came next. Behind them across the border in Montana, Jacob McCall screamed his rage at mountains that didn't care, at a border he couldn't cross, at justice he couldn't escape. The hunt was over. The healing could begin. Sweetwater, Wyoming territory sat in a valley between 2 ridges like a promise half kept. 12 buildings clustered around a dusty main street, a church with a crooked cross, a general store, a saloon called the Silver Dollar, and at the far end, a wooden structure with a faded sign that read, "Dr. Elijah Stone, Physician and Surgeon." Wyatt and Lily reached the town limits just after noon on the second day. They'd walked most of the night, rested 4 hours at dawn, walked again. Lily's fever had started somewhere around mile 15. By mile 18, she was delirious, talking to people who weren't there, calling for her father, For her mother, for someone named Sarah. Wyatt had carried her the last 2 miles. She weighed nothing, all bone and fever and stubborn will that kept her breathing when her body wanted to quit. He kicked open the doctor's door without ceremony. A bell jangled. Somewhere in the back a man's voice called out, "Be right with you." "Need help now," Wyatt said. His voice was raw. He hadn't slept in 2 days, hadn't eaten in longer. "Got a girl here, broken arm, infection, fever." Dr. Elijah Stone emerged from a back room, older than Wyatt expected, 60 at least. Thin as a rail with gray hair and wire spectacles, but his eyes were sharp, assessing. He took one look at Lily and his face went hard. "Back room, second table, now." Wyatt carried Lily through, laid her on the examination table as gently as he could. She moaned, eyes rolling, not seeing him. Stone was already washing his hands, moving with the efficient speed of a man who'd seen every kind of frontier injury. "How long's the arm been broken?" 2 weeks minimum, maybe 3. Wyatt stepped back to give the doctor room. "Wasn't set proper, just wrapped and left." "And the fever?" "Started yesterday, getting worse." Stone unwrapped Wyatt's crude splint. The smell hit them both. Sweet. Rotten. Worse than Wyatt remembered. The arm was swollen to twice its normal size, mottled red and black, streaks of darker red running up toward the shoulder. Blood poisoning. Advanced. "Jesus Christ," Stone muttered. He looked at Wyatt. "Another 12 hours and this reaches her heart. She'd be dead by morning." The words hit like fists. Wyatt had known it was bad. Hadn't known it was that bad. "Can you save her?" "Save her life, yes, but not the arm." Stone's voice was flat, clinical. "I'll have to amputate below the elbow. It's the only way." "No." The word came out hard. Final. Stone looked up. "Son, you don't understand. The tissue's dying. We don't remove it, the poison spreads. She dies. It's that simple. She's 19 years old. Spent 7 years being beaten, being broken. She finally got free and you want to take her arm." Wyatt's hand clenched. "No. You try everything else first." "There is nothing else." "Then you're not trying hard enough." Wyatt stepped closer. Not threatening, but immovable. "You clean it, cut out the dead tissue, do whatever you have to do, but you save that arm. If I try and it doesn't work, I've wasted time. The infection spreads further, makes amputation more dangerous, might kill her anyway. And if you don't try, she wakes up missing an arm, spends the rest of her life looking at that stump and remembering she wasn't worth saving whole." Wyatt's voice dropped. "I won't do that to her, not after everything else." Stone studied him, reading the determination, the desperation, the absolute refusal to back down. "You really care about this girl." "More than I've cared about anything in 11 years. The doctor sighed, nodded. "All right, I'll try. But if I start cutting and see the rot spread too far, I'm taking the arm. No arguments. Agreed." "Agreed." "Then go scrub your hands. You're assisting." The surgery lasted 4 hours. 4 hours of Dr. Stone cutting away dead tissue with a scalpel while Wyatt held Lily down. She woke twice, screamed both times until Stone administered chloroform. The sweet chemical smell filled the room, mixed with the stench of infection and blood. Stone worked with meticulous care, removing tissue, irrigating the wound with carbolic acid so strong it made Wyatt's eyes water, packing the exposed bone with gauze soaked in iodine. "Talk to her," Stone said at one point. "Even unconscious she might hear, might help her fight." So Wyatt talked, told Lily about Wyoming, about the 50 acres he owned, the house that needed fixing, the barn with the leaking roof, told her about Liberty, who was the best horse he'd ever owned, told her about the stars at night, how they looked different here than in Montana, clearer somehow, like hope looked when you could finally see it. Told her things he'd never told anyone, about Caroline, about the letter that came too late, about the 11 years running, About the morning he woke up and decided that survival wasn't enough anymore, that he needed to matter, needed his life to mean something beyond just not dying. "You made it mean something," he said, voice hoarse. "Last week, pulling you out of that barn, that meant something. So you have to live, you have to wake up, because I need to know it wasn't for nothing." Stone paused in his work, looked at Wyatt with something like compassion. "She's lucky to have you." "No, I'm lucky she gave me a chance to be better than I was." They finished as the sun set. Stone stitched the wound closed with practiced efficiency, wrapped it in clean bandages, stepped back, exhausted. Done. Saved the arm. He wiped sweat from his forehead. But the infection's still in her blood. Next 48 hours will tell if she fights it off or if it takes her anyway. What can I do? Keep her cool. Water when she wakes. Pray if you're the praying type. I'm not. Might want to start? Stone showed Wyatt to a small room with a bed, clean sheets, a window that looked out on the street, luxury after 2 weeks of running. "You can stay here. Watch over her. I'll check in every few hours." Stone paused at the door. "There's a wanted poster in the sheriff's office. Captain Alistair Thorne, deserter from the 43rd Infantry, $500 reward." Wyatt's blood turned to ice. The poster's old. Description's vague. Could be anyone. Stone met his eyes. "Could be you. Could be someone else. I'm a doctor, not a lawman, not my job to ask questions. Why tell me? Because you should know, in case you need to leave quick." Stone's voice softened. "But I hope you don't. That girl needs you, and you need her. Sometimes the people who save us are the ones we save. Remember that." He left before Wyatt could respond. Wyatt sat beside Lily's bed, pulled a chair close, took her good hand in his. It was burning hot, fever spiking. Her breathing was shallow, rapid. "Don't you quit on me," he said quietly. "You survived Jacob for 7 years. You can survive this." She didn't respond, just lay there, chest rising and falling, fighting a battle Wyatt couldn't help with. A battle between her will to live and her body's desire to surrender. Hour 1 passed, then hour 2. Wyatt dozed in the chair, woke every time Lily stirred, gave her water when Stone said, wiped her forehead with a cool cloth, talked to her, told her stories, anything to fill the silence. Night fell, then dawn, then noon. Day 2. Lily's breathing grew shallower, her pulse thready. Stone checked her, shook his head. "Infection's winning. I'm sorry." "No." Wyatt leaned close to Lily's ear. "You hear me? You don't get to quit. Not now. Not after everything." His voice broke. "Caroline quit. She gave up. Let Joshua win. And I wasn't there to tell her to keep fighting. But I'm here now. I'm here, and I'm telling you to fight. Fight Lily. Please." Nothing. Wyatt stood, paced, came back, knelt beside the bed, and did something he hadn't done since Caroline's funeral. He prayed. "I don't know if you're listening, don't even know if you're there, but if you are, if there's anything beyond this I'm asking. She deserves better. She survived when most people would have died, kept her soul intact when men like Jacob tried to destroy it. If you're taking someone, take me. I'm on borrowed time anyway, but let her live." His hands clenched on the bed frame. "Please, just let her live." The prayer felt hollow, empty, like shouting into a void, but he meant every word. Hour 36. Lily's eyes opened. Wyatt nearly fell out of his chair. He was at her side in an instant. "Water," she croaked. He held the cup to her lips. She drank, coughed, drank more. "How long?" she asked. 2 days. She looked down, saw her arm, still attached, heavily bandaged but there. "You fought for it." "Of course I did." "Why?" "Because you needed both hands to punch me if I let them take it." Wyatt smiled, exhausted, relieved beyond words. "Also because you're worth fighting for. Whole, not in pieces." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "Nobody ever thought that before?" Then nobody before was paying attention. She squeezed his hand weakly. "Thank you. For everything. For seeing me. For not giving up." "Thank yourself. You're the one who survived." Dr. Stone appeared in the doorway, saw Lily awake. His stern face softened into something like wonder. "Well, I'll be damned. Girl's got more fight than anyone I've seen." He came in, checked her pulse, her pupils, her bandages. "Fever's breaking. Pulse is stronger. I think you're going to make it." "How long until I can walk?" Lily asked. "Week at least. Maybe 2. That arm needs time to heal proper." "I don't have 2 weeks." "You got all the time in the world now. Jacob can't touch you here." Stone looked at Wyatt. "Speaking of which, there's someone outside wants to talk to you. Marshal Patterson. Says it's important." Wyatt's stomach dropped. This was it. The arrest. The hanging. Everything he'd feared for 11 years. "I'll be back," he told Lily. "Wyatt." Her voice stopped him at the door. "Whatever happens, thank you. You gave me a week of freedom. That's more than I had before. You're going to have a lifetime of it, I promise." He walked out to face his past. Marshal Patterson stood on the street, 3 deputies with him, all armed, all watching Wyatt with careful eyes. "Marshal," Wyatt said, kept his voice level, his hand away from his gun. "Mr. Cole, or should I say Captain Thorne?" No point denying it. Patterson had done his research. "Thorne's the name I was born with. Cole's the name I chose. Take your pick." Patterson pulled out a folded paper, old, yellowed, a wanted poster. Wyatt's face stared back at him, younger, cleaner. Before 11 years of running had carved lines in his face. Desertion, mutiny, treason, $500 reward. Patterson looked up. "That's a serious list of charges." "I know. You got anything to say in your defense?" Wyatt could have lied, could have claimed mistaken identity, could have run. Instead, he told the truth. "Georgia, 1865. My commanding officer ordered me to burn a town. Women and children still inside. I refused. Pulled my men out. We saved 51 people, 37 women, 14 children." Wyatt met Patterson's eyes. "Army called it mutiny. I call it being human. And the desertion? Been running ever since, changing names, moving towns, never staying long enough to put down roots." Wyatt paused. "Until now." "What's different about now?" "Her." Wyatt gestured toward the doctor's office. "Lily. She's what's different. I spent 11 years surviving, existing, not living. Then I saw her in that barn and something woke up, something I thought Jacob and Joshua and the war had killed." "What was that?" "The belief that I could still matter, that my life could be about more than just running." Wyatt's voice steadied. "So yeah, I'm Alistair Thorne. I'm a deserter. And if you're going to arrest me, I won't fight. But I'm asking you to wait until Lily's healed, until I know she's safe. Then I'll go quiet." Patterson folded the poster, put it in his pocket. "You know what I found when I started investigating you?" "What, well, records from Antietam. You didn't just pull me out of that building, you made 3 trips, saved 2 other men after me, all while Confederate artillery was ranging in." Patterson's voice was quiet. "One of those men was Colonel Hartford. He's a senator now. I wired him, asked what he remembered about Captain Thorne. What did he say? Said you were the bravest man he'd ever served with. Said the order you refused in Georgia was illegal. War crime. Said any man who'd followed it would have been hanged after the war anyway." Patterson smiled slightly. "Said if he ever found you, he'd shake your hand and buy you a drink." Wyatt's breath caught. "I also wired the current commander of the 43rd, asked about the warrant." Patterson pulled out another paper. "This came back this morning." He handed it to Wyatt. It was an official document, stamped, signed, pardoning Captain Alistair Thorne for actions during the War of Rebellion, acknowledging that the order to burn civilian populations was illegal, thanking him for his service. The warrant was rescinded. The charges dropped. After 11 years, Wyatt was free. How? Wyatt's voice was barely a whisper. Senator Hartford's been trying to clear your name for years. Didn't have a way to contact you. When I told him where you were, he pushed it through in 48 hours. Patterson smiled. Turns out saving a senator's life buys you considerable goodwill. Wyatt stared at the paper, read it 3 times, couldn't quite believe it was real. I'm not a deserter anymore. No, you're a veteran, honorably discharged, free to live wherever you want under whatever name you choose. Patterson held out his hand. Welcome home, Wyatt Cole. Wyatt shook his hand, felt 11 years of weight lift off his shoulders. 11 years of looking over his shoulder. 11 years of fear. Gone. Thank you doesn't seem like enough. You saved my life. I returned the favor. We're even. Patterson turned to leave. Paused. One more thing. That ranch Jacob claimed Lily was running from. Turns out Thomas Winters's will is pretty clear. Property goes to Lily when she turns 21. But with Jacob arrested for murder back in Montana, court's likely to transfer it sooner. Arrested for murder. Doc Abbott testified. Mrs. Holloway testified. Tommy Briggs's sister gave a statement about what her brother told her before he died. Patterson's face was grim. Jacob's going to prison. Long time. Maybe forever. And Ruth disappeared. Took what money she could and vanished. Nobody knows where. Wyatt absorbed that. Justice. Imperfect, but real. What about the ranch? When the court transfers it, it'll be worth about $5,000. Lily could sell it, use the money to start over. Patterson looked thoughtful. Or she could use it to expand that 50 acres you got. Make it a real ranch, Morrison Ranch, like the contract said. That was fake. I made it up to get her out of Montana. Doesn't have to stay fake. You need help running 50 acres. She needs a place to belong. Seems like you could help each other. He rode off before Wyatt could respond. Wyatt stood in the street, held the pardon in shaking hands, free, legal, safe for the first time in 11 years. He walked back into the doctor's office, to the small room where Lily waited. She was sitting up, still pale, but her eyes were clear, focused. What did he want? She asked. Wyatt showed her the pardon, explained, watched her face transform from confusion to understanding to joy. You're free, she breathed. We both are. She smiled. What happens now? Now you heal. And when you're strong enough, we go to my ranch, the real one. Fix up the house, mend the fences. Build something that lasts. Together. If you'll have me as a partner. Lily was quiet for a long moment. Not as a boss or a guardian or someone I owe. Never. Equal partners. You work because you want to. Leave if you want to. Stay if you want to. Everything is your choice from now on. She held out her good hand. Partners. Wyatt shook it, felt the rightness of it settle into his bones. This was what Caroline had wanted for him. Not revenge, not endless running, but this, purpose, partnership, peace. Partners, he agreed. 6 months passed like a dream. The ranch, 50 acres of Wyoming grassland with the Bitterroot Mountains rising in the distance, transformed slowly. Wyatt fixed the house, patched the roof, built furniture from rough lumber, made it livable. Lily healed. Her arm regained most of its strength. The infection scars remained but faded. She gained weight, 20 pounds, then 25, became less skeletal, more solid, real. They worked together. Wyatt teaching her ranch skills, riding, roping, reading the weather in the clouds. Lily teaching him to read better, to write more than his name, to cook something beyond beans and hardtack. At night they sat on the porch, talked, shared stories. Wyatt told her about Caroline, about the war, about the 11 years running. Lily told him about her parents, about the 7 years with Jacob, about the girl named Sarah who died 3 years before and whose death nobody talked about. They became friends, real friends, the kind built on shared trauma and mutual respect and the understanding that some bonds forged in fire never break. One evening Wyatt came back from town with news. Woman came to the general store today. Catherine Patterson, Marshall's wife. What did she want? To thank you. Said her daughter was in a bad situation. Husband who hurt her. But after hearing what you did standing up to Jacob getting free, her daughter found the courage to leave. Wyatt sat on the porch rail. She's safe now, living with the Pattersons, learning to be herself again. Lily was quiet, processing. She thanked me, said you gave her daughter hope, showed her that escape was possible. I didn't do anything special. You survived. You fought back. You didn't let Jacob win. Wyatt leaned forward. That's everything to someone trapped like you were. Lily stood, walked to the porch edge, looked out at the land they'd been building together. There are others, aren't there? Other women like me, like Catherine's daughter, trapped, hurting, thinking there's no way out. Too many. What if we helped them? Wyatt straightened. What do you mean? This ranch. It's bigger than we need for just 2 people. What if we used it, made it a place where women could come, where they'd be safe, where they could heal and learn to be strong again? The idea took root in Wyatt's mind, grew, became something solid. You want to build a sanctuary. I want to build what I needed 7 years ago, what Caroline needed, what every woman who's ever been hurt and scared and alone needs. Lily turned to face him. A place where they matter, where they're believed, where they're safe. Wyatt thought about Caroline, about Tommy's mother, about all the women whose names he'd never know, but whose stories were written in bruises and broken bones and empty eyes. We'd need more space, more buildings. We could sell the Montana ranch when the court transfers it, use the money to expand. We'd need help. Can't run a place like that alone. Then we find people who want to help, who understand. Lily's voice grew stronger. I survived because you saw me. You chose to intervene. What if we made that choice for everyone? What if we made sure no woman had to wait 7 years for someone to care? Wyatt stood, walked over to her, looked at the land with new eyes, seeing not just a ranch but a mission, a purpose beyond survival. Your father's ranch. When it sells, you could take that money and go anywhere, start fresh. No ties to this place or to me. I know. So why stay? Why do this? Lily smiled. Because you taught me something important. You taught me that surviving isn't enough, that life has to mean something or it's just existing. And I want my life to mean what yours means, helping people who can't help themselves. She held out her hand. So what do you say, partner? Want to build something that matters? Wyatt took her hand, shook it, felt the future clicking into place. Yeah, let's build something that matters. 2 months later, the first woman arrived. Margaret, 30 years old with 3 young children, face bruised, spirit broken. She'd heard about the ranch from Mrs. Holloway back in Montana, had walked 40 miles with her kids to find it. Wyatt and Lily took her in, fed her, gave her a place to sleep, taught her she was safe, that she had value, that she could rebuild. Margaret stayed 3 months, left for Oregon where her sister lived. But before she went, she helped Wyatt build a bunkhouse, small, 6 beds, a wood stove, privacy curtains. Lily hung a sign above the door, simple letters carved in wood. Grace House. Why Grace? Wyatt asked. My middle name, also the name of your horse, also what you gave me, undeserved favor, a second chance. Lily smiled. Seemed right? More women came. Some stayed days, some months. Some made the ranch their permanent home. Lily taught them what Wyatt had taught her, how to ride, how to shoot, how to stand tall and look men in the eye without flinching. Wyatt protected them, made it known in Sweetwater and the surrounding towns that Grace House was off limits. that any man who came looking to drag a woman back would answer to him. And when pushed, Wyatt proved he hadn't forgotten how to fight. The ranch grew. Lily used the money from her father's estate to buy adjacent land, 100 acres, then 150, built a second bunkhouse, a schoolhouse for teaching reading and arithmetic, a medical cabin where Dr. Stone came weekly to train women in basic medicine. By the time Lily turned 21, Grace House had helped 47 women. 12 were in residence. 8 had settled permanently in Sweetwater. The rest had moved on to new lives, new chances. And somewhere in all that building and all that purpose, Wyatt and Lily became something more than partners. It happened slowly, over months, small moments stacking up. Lily's hand finding his while they watched sunset. Wyatt's arm around her shoulders during a thunderstorm. Conversations that stretched past midnight. Silences that felt comfortable instead of awkward. The night Wyatt finally admitted what he'd been feeling for a year came on a warm evening in spring. They sat on the porch as usual, stars wheeling overhead, the sound of women's voices drifting from the bunkhouses. Safe, happy, home. "Lily," Wyatt said, "I need to tell you something." "All right." "These past 2 years, building this place with you, watching you become who you were always meant to be, it's been the best time of my life." Lily turned to look at him. "Mine too. And I know we started as partners, just people helping each other. But somewhere along the way, it became more for me. You became more." Wyatt's hands clenched on his knees. "I love you. Have for months. Maybe since that river crossing. Maybe longer. And I needed you to know, even if you don't feel the same, even if this changes things between us. I needed you to know." Silence. Long enough that Wyatt's heart sank. Then Lily laughed, soft, gentle. "You really are emotionally constipated, aren't you?" "What?" "That's what Catherine calls men who can't express feelings. Emotionally constipated." Lily took his hand. "Wyatt, I've loved you since you carried me up that mountain, since you fought for my arm, since every single moment you chose to see me as a person instead of a burden." "You have." "Of course I have. I was just waiting for you to catch up." Wyatt stared at her. "You could have said something. You needed time, to heal, to stop seeing me as Caroline's replacement, to see me as myself." Lily smiled. "Was I right to wait?" "Yeah, you were right." Wyatt cupped her face. "Lily Winters, you're the bravest, smartest, most stubborn woman I've ever met. And if you'll have me, I'd like to spend the rest of my life building this dream with you, not as partners, as something more." "As what?" "As whatever you want. Husband and wife if you'll marry me. Or just two people who love each other if marriage feels like another cage." Wyatt searched her face. "Your choice. Always your choice." Lily kissed him. First real kiss they'd shared. 2 years of friendship and partnership and growing love finally finding expression. When they broke apart, both were smiling. "Ask me properly," Lily said. Wyatt knelt, right there on the porch, pulled a simple silver band from his pocket. He'd bought it months ago, carried it waiting for the right moment. "Lily Grace Winters, will you marry me?" "Yes." No hesitation, just certainty. "Yes." They married in the spring of 1879, 3 years after Wyatt pulled Lily from that barn. Small ceremony. Dr. Stone officiated. Marshall Patterson and his wife attended. A dozen women from Grace House stood witness. Lily wore a simple white dress, held wild flowers, looked happy in a way that made Wyatt's chest hurt with the rightness of it. They spoke vows they'd written themselves, promises to stand together, to build together, to see each other always, to choose each other every day. And when Wyatt slipped the ring on Lily's finger, he felt Caroline's presence, approving, at peace. This was what she'd wanted for him, not revenge, not endless guilt, but this, love, purpose, a life that mattered. 5 years after the wedding, Wyatt stood on his porch and surveyed everything they'd built. the ranch had grown to 200 acres. Main house expanded to 6 rooms, 2 bunkhouses housing 24 women total, a schoolhouse where Lily taught reading and arithmetic, medical cabin where 3 women were training to be nurses under Dr. Stone's supervision, a workshop for carpentry and leatherwork, corrals holding 30 horses, fields growing crops. Grace House had helped over 200 women in 7 years. Some stayed days, some months, some never left. It had become a community, a family built on shared trauma and shared healing. Wyatt heard footsteps, small ones, running. "Papa, Papa." His daughter Caroline, called Cara, ran up the steps. 3 years old, dark hair like Lily, gray eyes like Wyatt, fearless and full of life. "What is it, sweetheart? Mama says dinner's ready, and there's a new lady here. She's crying." Wyatt picked up Cara, kissed her forehead. "New lady means we be extra gentle, right, extra kind. Right, 'cause she's scared." "That's my smart girl." Lily appeared in the doorway, holding their son Thomas, called Tommy after the young man who'd died to give them time. 1 year old, all smiles and chubby hands. "Woman just arrived," Lily said. "Her name's Elizabeth. Husband beat her for 10 years. She finally ran." Her voice was steady, but Wyatt saw the old pain flicker in her eyes, the recognition of shared experience. "She's safe now. She will be, but she's terrified, doesn't trust anyone. Then we'll teach her, same as always." Wyatt set Cara down. "Go tell Elizabeth dinner's in 10 minutes. Use your gentle voice." Cara nodded seriously, ran off to complete her mission. Wyatt walked to Lily, wrapped his free arm around her, the 3 of them standing together. Family. "You ever regret it?" he asked. "Staying here, building this instead of going somewhere new?" "Never. Not once." Lily kissed him, then kissed Tommy's head. "This is exactly where I'm supposed to be, doing exactly what I'm supposed to do." From the bunkhouses, the sound of women's voices, laughing, talking, planning futures instead of just surviving presents. "You changed their lives," Wyatt said. "We changed them together, you and me. No, you're the heart of this, the reason they trust, the reason they stay, the reason they heal." Lily smiled. "And you're the strength, the protection, the man who shows them not all men are Jacob. We make a good team, the best." They stood together watching the sun set over their land, over everything they'd built from ashes and hope and stubborn refusal to let pain win. Wyatt thought about the man he'd been 7 years ago, running, hiding, dying inside while his body kept moving. Thought about the moment he heard those gunshots and made the choice to intervene, to care when it would have been safer not to. That choice had saved Lily, but it had also saved him. "What are you thinking about?" Lily asked. "About how lucky I am, that I found you, that you gave me a chance, that we built something that matters. It matters because of the people we save." "No." Wyatt turned her to face him. "It matters because of who we became saving them. You went from victim to survivor to savior. I went from deserter to protector to partner. We both became more than we were." Lily's eyes glistened. "Caroline would be proud of you. She'd be proud of both of us." Wyatt kissed her forehead. "And Tommy. And every woman who walks through that gate looking for safety. They'd all be proud." Cara came running back. "Mama." Miss Elizabeth stopped crying. She smiled at me. "That's wonderful, baby. Can I show her my room and my horse? After dinner. Right now we eat." They walked inside together, the 4 of them. Family built from trauma and healing and love. Behind them, the sun finished setting. The stars emerged, clear and bright over Wyoming territory, over Grace House, over a sanctuary built by 2 broken people who chose to heal together. Inside, 12 women sat around a long table, talking, laughing, planning, being human in a way they hadn't been allowed to be before. And at the head of the table, Wyatt and Lily sat with their children, partners, parents, proof that surviving was just the beginning, that the real victory was learning to live. That night after the children were asleep and the house was quiet, Lily and Wyatt sat on the porch one more time. Their ritual, their moment. "Do you ever think about Jacob?" Lily asked. "What happened to him?" "Sometimes. Patterson sent word 2 years back. Jacob died in prison, infection from the leg wound, gangrene. Took him 3 weeks to die." "Good. Yeah." Wyatt paused. "And Ruth?" "Nobody knows. She disappeared completely. Maybe she found peace somewhere. Maybe not." "You ever want to find out?" "No. She made her choices. I made mine. I choose not to carry her poison anymore." Wyatt nodded. "Understood. Some ghosts you had to leave behind." "What about you?" Lily asked. "You ever think about going back, seeing Missouri Caroline's grave?" "Went last year. Remember while you were in Cheyenne at that women's conference?" "What did you tell her?" Wyatt smiled. "Told her I finally did it. Saved someone. Built something. Found peace." He took Lily's hand. "Told her I met someone who made me believe life was worth living again. That I named my daughter after her. That I'm happy." "What do you think she'd say?" "She'd say it's about damn time. Then she'd tell me to stop being so serious and enjoy what I built." "Smart woman." "The smartest." Wyatt pulled Lily close. "Second smartest is sitting right here." They sat in comfortable silence, watching stars, listening to Wyoming wind, feeling the peace of knowing they'd done something that mattered. Tomorrow, more women would come. More stories of pain and survival. More chances to help, to heal, to prove that cruelty didn't have to win. But tonight, Wyatt and Lily simply existed. Together. Safe. Home. And that was enough. More than enough. It was everything.